It starts with a simple scroll. You're sitting on the couch after a long day, your feet are up, and you're trying to relax. You open Instagram and there it is. Photo after photo of friends and strangers living their best lives. One person just bought a brand new car, another is vacationing in Europe, and a college acquaintance just announced that they paid off their student loans 10 years early and they're bragging about it. Your thumb pauses over the screen and the thought comes crashing in. Why does everyone else seem so far ahead while I feel stuck? That feeling doesn't go away. You take a deep breath and you put your phone down and you think back to all the choices you've made. Maybe you're wondering if you missed something, an investment you did not make, a career path you did not take, or some magical formula that everyone else seems to know. And then the worst happens. You start to believe the story that's forming in your head, that I am falling behind. But what if I told you that that story isn't true? What if the idea that you're behind is nothing more than an illusion? A trick that your mind plays fueled by the carefully curated highlight reels of other people's lives. What if right now you're actually doing far better than you think? Here's the thing. We've all been there. We've all felt the sting of comparison, like we're measuring ourselves against an invisible standard that we can never reach. But here's the secret most people don't talk about. The people you're comparing yourselves to aren't living as flawlessly as it seems. And more importantly, the way you're defining success might not even be yours. What if the rules of the game that you're playing are stacked against you? What if the ladder you're climbing isn't yours in the first place? I hope by the end of this video, you will see things differently. You'll see that financial success isn't just about keeping up. It's about building quietly, steadily, and on your own terms. And most importantly, I hope that you realize that in many ways, you are already ahead in ways that matter most. Let's start with this. What if I told you that almost 80% of Americans say that they're living paycheck to paycheck? That even households earning six figures, $150,000 a year, are struggling to make ends meet. Now imagine, after all your bills, you still have some money left over. What if that means that you're already doing better than most people around you? These aren't numbers, they are stories of quiet struggles that are happening behind closed doors. And it doesn't stop there. According to a survey, fewer than half of Americans, or just 44%, say that they could cover a $1,000 emergency expense with their savings. Another survey revealed that 61% of Americans carry credit card debt owing an average of $5,875. Then, only 18% of individual Americans earn more than $100,000 a year, and only about 34% of American households bring in six figures annually. So if you're making that much or even approaching it, you are already in a privileged position compared to so many people around you. And I could go on and on. These numbers only scratch the surface, but they paint a clear picture. What you perceive as behind might actually be ahead. You never really know how someone is funding their lifestyle. Is that new car paid off, or is it drowning them in debt? Maybe that person really can't afford that lavish vacation, or maybe they can't. A friend of mine recently financed an $80,000 Cybertruck. Everyone loved it. I even test drove it. It's a great truck, by the way. But 3 months later, I get a message from him. He said that he could not keep up with the payments. He asked me if he should return the truck or keep making the payments, knowing that he was barely holding it together financially. I remember reading that message and feeling stunned. He was someone who seemed to have it all, a shiny new truck, a stable life, but beneath the surface, he was barely holding it together. And that's when it hit me. We only see what people want to show. And it's so easy to misjudge someone's situation based on appearances. What looks like success can often be a thin mask covering real struggles. You just never know what's happening behind the scenes. I would also like to highlight that a lot of us misunderstand the idea of wealth. As the millionaire next door famously puts it, that wealth is not the same as income. You might earn a six-figure salary, but if every dollar is spent on flashy things, you're no closer to financial freedom than someone earning half as much. True wealth isn't about what others can see. It's about what's quietly building behind the scenes. It's the money saved, the investments growing steadily, and the choices made to prioritize long-term goals. Even if your saving account feels thin or your investments are just getting started, you might already be ahead of the game. How? Because success isn't a straight line, it's an exponential curve. At first, progress is slow, almost invisible. A few dollars saved here, a small contribution to your retirement fund over there, it can feel like you're barely moving the needle. But over time, the magic of compounding kicks in. That little nest egg begins to grow, and one day, almost out of nowhere, it becomes into something substantial. Let's get practical. What are some signs that you're doing better than you think? Do you have an emergency fund? Even a small one? That puts you ahead of 40% of Americans who can't cover a $1,000 expense. Are you paying your bills on time? Congratulations, because you are part of the financially responsible minority. These may seem like small victories, but they're not. They're signs that you're building stability in a world where so many people are struggling just to keep their heads above water. And if you're contributing to your retirement fund, no matter how modestly, you are already ahead of millions of people who haven't even started. Another often overlooked sign that you're doing better than you think is simply taking the time to learn about money. Many people go through life without ever understanding how to budget, invest, or build wealth. If you're watching this video, you are already ahead of the curve. And regardless of where you are, growth, not perfection, should be the goal. Instead of asking, am I where I should be? Ask, am I better off than I was last year? Or am I better off than I was last month? This subtle shift can change everything. Then I would encourage you to think of financial security as more than just money. It's about habits, it's about education and resilience. A quote from Atomic Habits by James Clear reminds us that you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. If you've built systems like saving automatically, paying off debt incrementally, or even tracking your spending, you have already laid the groundwork for financial stability. Maybe it doesn't feel that way, but progress takes time. Even if you're in the early stages of your journey, the systems you're putting in place today will yield dividends in the future. Every small action is a building block of the life you're creating. Here's another thought, which some might say is off topic, but I don't think it is. We often measure wealth just by the size of our bank account. But true wealth, in my opinion at least, goes far beyond numbers. Think about this. Someone in poor health would trade all the money in the world for a clean bill of health. Someone lonely and isolated would give anything for deep, meaningful relationships. If you're healthy and surrounded by people you care about and have the energy to pursue your dreams, you are already rich in ways that matter most. So, if you're feeling like you're falling behind, take a moment to step back. If you have your health, a roof over your head, food on the table, and people in your life who care about you, you might already be doing better than you realize. Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't just what's in your wallet, it's more than that. At the heart of it all, you are probably doing better than you think, even if it doesn't feel that way. Progress does not always shout, it whispers. It's in the small habits you're building, the little victories that no one else sees, and the steady actions that compound over time. As James Clear writes in Atomic Habits, that success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Every dollar you save, every debt payment you make, and every decision to live within your means is a habit that adds up. You might not see the results immediately, but those small positive changes are creating momentum. If this resonates with you, I can't recommend Atomic Habits enough. It's not just a book, it's a guide to changing your life one step at a time. Start small, start now, and watch what happens.